Hey everybody, welcome to AURAM'S Forum. This is take 2, fun little story time. I might be visibly dead inside / very tired. There's a reason for that. I already recorded this episode, and I know you probably don't care, but I do. I just want to explain why my eyes might not be like lit up. But we're gonna talk about Spider-Man. He's back there. He might be a little blurry, but he's back there. I didn't draw that. I can't draw. That was drawn by an anonymous donor by the name of Fluttersby Goodman. Here he is. Yeah, we're talking about Spider-Man today. What's it say there? It says organic webbing. We're talking about organic webbing today. It's organic webbing versus mechanical webbing. That's the word I was looking for last time I recorded this. Mechanical. Anyway, it's not important. First, I'm going to explain what the hell organic webbing is, what it means, before we get into other parts, opinion parts of AURAM'S Forum. So what the hell is organic webbing, you may ask? Well, it's when Spider-Man shoots actual webs from his wrists instead of uses a mechanical device that Peter Parker, we're talking about Peter Parker, created to shoot the webs. It just actually, it's a power that he has. It originated in 2001 with the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films. You may have seen them. You may have heard of them. It's got Tobey Maguire. It's got Kirsten Dunst. Was it got James Franco? Was it got Willem Dafoe? Was it got... Who's the guy... Who's the butler?
The blade that pierces hard.
That's all right, Johnny, you're doing great.
Boy.
Bless up. In that version of the comic book... Not the comic book, it's a movie. In that version of Spider-Man's mythos, he has organic webbing. When the radioactive spider bites Peter Parker, he does not only gain the proportionate strength of a spider, weird spider sense that spiders totally have, and the ability to crawl on walls and stick to things, but he also gains the ability to shoot spinneret-like webs out of his, like, fluid out of his, wrists. And it's cool, it allows him to swing across buildings, he can trap people, he can stop criminals with his web powers, and it's great and fun and a happy time. But yeah, traditionally in the comics, Peter Parker is a very science-driven man. He's sort of a geek, a nerd, you know. He worked at Horizon Labs. He got taken over by Doc Ock, and Doc Ock made him an even smarter science man. That's irrelevant. The point is, traditionally in the comics, Peter gets everything that I listed before from the radioactive spider, minus the organic webbing. He has mechanical web shooters that he created and developed himself. And he's cool with that. He's got web cartridges that he has to refill. He's made his own web fluid, and he shoots it out. He did, however, at one point in the comics, have a organic version of the webs. There was a story arc of, it was Spectacular Spider-Man issues 15 through 20, I think. 2 story arcs. They were called Royal Flush, or something like that, and Changes, where basically this hot, black-haired woman with big boobers came along, kissed Peter right on the lips, and then he turned into a big spider. And then he came out of the big spider, and what do you know? He shoots goo out of his wrists, and he's like, well, that's new. The point is that there's precedent for organic webbing in the comics and other media, I guess. I don't really know why that would strengthen or hinder my opinion, which I'm about to get into, but I just wanted to say where the idea of organic webbing originated in, and that it has been adopted into the comics at some point. So you all might be chomping at the bit for what do I think of organic webbing. Sort of just says organic webbing on all the branding. Maybe the title's probably biased in some way, but this video hasn't been so far. I've just sort of given a neutral opinion on organic webbing. Well, I'm here to say it right now, folks, definitively, organic webbing is the only way to go. Fuck mechanical web shooters. Get them out of here. Look inside yourself and ask, maybe it's not such a bad idea. here are my reasons for why I want organic webbing to be a thing. Step 1. This is not a step process. Part 1. He gets bitten by a spider. What the hell are spiders known for? They shoot goo out of their asses. I'm not saying that I want Peter Parker to shoot goo out of his ass, but it would be nice if he shot goo out of somewhere. But he doesn't. He had to make that up himself. He was like, wait a minute. If I'm Spider-Man, shouldn't I shoot webs? That's what spiders do, right? Shouldn't I be able to spin webs and encase my enemies in webs and make a big web for me and my girlfriend to have sex on? Duh. If that wasn't clear, what I'm trying to say is I think it doesn't make too much sense that Peter would get every other power of a spider except for, like, the most iconic ability that spiders have, which is web spinning. Also, they gave him a spider sense, which, you know, spiders don't have a spider sense. That's not a thing. It might be a thing, but, like, in a minute way. Maybe spiders just have really fast reaction time, and that's where they got it from. Look, I don't know. Anyway, to support this even further, Silk is a character that exists. For those that don't know who Silk is, Silk, also known as Cindy Moon, is a girl that's Peter's age, basically the same age as Peter, and if not the same age. She was bitten by the exact same radioactive spider that Peter was bitten by, before it died or got captured or whatever, depending on the continuity. Cindy Moon was bitten by that same spider on that same field trip. And what does she have? Magic fingers. No, she shoots webs out of her fingers. Organic webs. She doesn't have to make any shit. And I know you might be saying, oh, it was just the spider's DNA just genetically bonded differently for Peter and Cindy's. That's fair. That's fine. But, like, come on. I'm just saying you have an easy out if you wanted to retcon that Peter's webs were organic, which I'm not really suggesting because that's sort of cemented in continuity that they are mechanical web shooters. All I'm saying is I like the idea of organic web shooters a tad bit better. And also, if you want to make the point that the radioactive spider should give the same powers to Cindy and Peter, but Peter still needs his iconic, you know, shooty shoot from the wrist and not the fingers, then you could just use that literal same argument for why Peter doesn't have organic webbing at all. You could just say that Cindy's DNA made it so that her webs come out of her fingers. Peter's DNA makes it that the webs come out of his wrists. And I don't know, maybe Joe Schmo's DNA makes it so that every time he sneezes, he dies because he webs himself. So yeah, that's one reason. My other reason why I think organic webbing works is because of something I briefly mentioned earlier, is Peter with the mechanical web shooters has to have a million cartridges full of web fluid that he's constantly running out of depending on the situation and the writer. And it's just like, every time someone gets a hold of Spider-Man, I feel like there's this one comic that they write that has to do with running out of web fluid, and it's like, come on, that's not fun or interesting in any way. It's like watching a character with a bow and arrow run out of arrows. Nobody wants to see that. That's not fun. I want to see my sensationalized superheroes kick ass and not have to worry about their ammunition. That's all I'm saying. With organic web shooters, you don't need cartridges. And sure, you might say, oh, but what if he gets tired? He runs out of fluids. I don't know. Drink a bottle of water, Peter. Stay hydrated. Doesn't matter. It's bad writing. Every pistol has 60,000 bullets. Every quiver has 1,000,000 billion arrows. And depending on the writer, yes, every mechanical web shooter has unlimited amounts of webs. But I feel like you would be more okay. A writer would be more okay with not having Peter run out of webs ever if they were organic. Especially with these big scenes that you see when Peter in the comics did have his organic webbing of, like, webbing up Iron Man all over the place and stuff like that. And yes, there is also precedent for him, for not him specifically, because I don't think it ever happened to him when he had organic webbing, but I think during Spider Island he was telling someone who did get organic webbing as a result of that whole mess that you need to drink lots of fluid and eat starch or something to to keep your webs good and healthy and to not run out. So sure, of course that's a thing that could happen. It obviously depends on the writer and if they want to employ that plot device. I would say don't, because it's a boring plot device that doesn't add anything but false tension. So those are my biggest two reasons why I think organic webbing is fun and why I enjoy it. I don't know, it's just something that clicks for me. Now I'm gonna sort of pivot towards some criticisms that I feel like might be lobbied at me after this video goes up, or that have been lobbied at me in the past. I made a tweet about this, that's what started this whole thing, and people were like, hey, stop that. Anyway, the first one, and the one that sort of makes more sense than the one I'll get to in a minute, is that part of Peter's mechanical web shooters is that he can make different kinds of web. He can do a big goop, he can do like a net, he can do electric webs, zappy webs. You know, he's got all kinds of webs in his, especially lately, after Parker Industries and he went global. He's got all different sorts of webs. He's got Batman's utility belt inside of his web shooter. Now, that would be fair. That's something that you can't do with organic webs because they just come straight out of his wrist. But you're discounting the fact that Peter Parker is still very smart. Just because he didn't make his web shooters doesn't mean he's not a borderline genius. He would just make a filtration system that is basically a web shooter that would change his organic webs into different types of webs. So imagine you have a funnel, and his wrist is at the top of the funnel, and at the bottom of the funnel is where the webs come out. But in the middle of the funnel, that's where you would change like a thing, like a sort of like a Ben 10 watch style thing, where you choose which web you want. So you want electric webs, you come on your wrist, you're like, whoop, whoop. Maybe it's like a touch screen because he's all fancy in this day and age. He goes, whoop, whoop, and then he locks it in, and then whoosh, and electric webs comes out, or whoop, whoop, whoosh, I don't know, save the planet webs. The point I'm trying to make is, it doesn't make any sense that Peter would just be like, oh, I have organic webbing, I'm gonna stop there, full stop. Like, Peter didn't develop his web shooters immediately with all of these different types of webs in mind, as far as I know. That was a later development. He was like, this would be helpful, I'll make a new type of web. And I'm sure that works on filtration systems too. I don't think he might have different cartridges for different uses, but I know in the Parker Industries thing, it's just a one web shooter that has all kinds of shit comes out of it. It is sort of a filtration system. You just have it, you're not filtering a cartridge, you're not filtering synthetic webs, you're filtering organic webs. And then the other criticism that I'll probably get, or that people who like organic webs probably get, is that it's gross. Which it's not. Go away. Nobody, like, pussy up. Who cares if it's gross? It's not gross, really. It's just fluid coming out of you. Fluid comes out of superheroes all the time. The point is, I don't think it's gross, because he's a superhero. And besides, even if you do want to think it's gross, Spider-Man was originally created to be a slight horror character. And this just lines up perfectly with that. You know? He's just a dude who shoots shit out of his wrists. He's a Spider-Man. Spiders are fucking creepy. Most people hate spiders. It's a big fear in the world. People are afraid of Spider-Man. It's a good juxtaposition between this happy-go-lucky Peter Parker Spider-Man dude who cracks jokes all the time, but if you really think about it, he crawls on walls backwards and is really uncharacteristically strong for a boy his age, and now he shoots webs out of his wrists? Whoa, hold on. Now that's just creepy. But then you see him and you're like, oh, he's not creepy. He's just a good, nice dude. So it's not gross. You're gross. That's what I got to say about organic webbing. I'm sorry this was a shorter AURAM'S forum. There's really not much to say on this topic. I made that tweet because it's something I've been formulating for a while in my head, and I want to live my truth. Damn it. You know what? If Nick Spencer doesn't make Peter Parker have organic webbing, I'll burn Amazing Spider-Man #1 and send it to him on Twitter. Anyway, thanks for watching. I don't have anything else to say. Please don't lynch me in the comments. Or do, I don't really care. If you agree with me, let me know. If you don't, let me know. If you're sort of half and half, let me know. If you don't know who Spider-Man is, definitely let me know. I would love to know if you don't know who Spider-Man is, and if this video, how did you stumble across this video in the first place? Do you now understand who Spider-Man is? Do you think I'm talking about a real-life man who just has body horror problems? Or do you think that I am just a crazy person whose video has somehow wound up on the internet? I'm gonna say, for the sake of this video, that I'm gonna go to bed now because I'm very tired, but I'm probably just gonna go put this footage on my computer and then maybe chop it up or something with a big butcher knife.